Okay, so picture this. You're completely isolated right in the middle of nowhere. I mean, the rain is just absolutely deafening. It's coming down in complete torrents, like the entire sky is literally crashing down onto the earth. That is exactly the terrifying predicament our protagonist, Rohan, finds himself in as our story begins. He's had to stop his motorbike right in the middle of this deserted, pitch-black road. He glances down at his smartphone, the only lifeline he actually has left in this relentless storm, and the battery indicator is blinking at a terrifying 2%. And to make matters even worse, his GPS is totally glitching out. It's looping him indefinitely around the exact same meaningless coordinates. The technology we all rely on to keep us safe? Yeah, it's rapidly failing him.
Welcome to today's Explainer. I am so thrilled to guide you through this deeply atmospheric and honestly, genuinely chilling piece of narrative fiction. We're looking at The Ghostly Homecoming to Bhairavnagar. Think of this as a modern campfire storyteller session. We're going to really explore the heart of this terrifying local legend. What makes this story so incredibly fascinating is how it uses things like isolation, sensory deprivation, and a total distortion of reality to just build this overwhelming sense of dread. So let's walk through this journey together and see exactly how this supernatural anomaly unfolds.
So let's just jump right into it. Stranded on this looping, rain-slicked road, Rohan spots this old, weathered signboard just sitting on the edge of the street. It points into the dark and simply reads, Bhairavnagar, 2 km. Now, here's where the psychological horror elements really start to take root. You see, the truly bizarre part? Rohan travels this specific route all the time. He knows these roads like the back of his hand, yet he has absolutely never heard the name Bhairavnagar before. The very existence of this village is a total anomaly. It's like a geographical blind spot in his reality that has just suddenly manifested out of the dark.
With basically no other options, he starts up his bike and heads toward the village. But the further inside he goes, the more this creeping, escalating unease really takes hold. Normal life just completely vanishes. The road becomes entirely empty. There are no other cars, not a single person on the street, and absolutely zero lights coming from inside any of the houses. The only sensory input he's getting in this overwhelming darkness is the faint, eerie sound of distant temple bells echoing through the rain. It is such a masterful setup of atmospheric isolation.
And then comes an absolute heart-stopping moment. Suddenly, a notification pops up on his dying phone, but it's not a text message, and it's definitely not a GPS update. The screen goes completely black, and these plain white letters illuminate the dark. Welcome back. Now, Rohan's terror really spikes here, right? Because this message is completely unattached to any app. It's a localized, seemingly supernatural digital intrusion. His device isn't communicating with a satellite anymore. It honestly feels like it's communicating with the village itself.
Right as he reaches the very center of the village, the environment undergoes this sudden, completely unnatural sensory shift. His motorcycle engine inexplicably dies on its own, and that torrential, deafening rain we've been talking about, it stops. Instantly. It doesn't fade away, it just cuts out. And what replaces it is absolute, profound silence. The quiet in the center of Bhairavnagar is so intense, so heavy, that the sound of Rohan's own panicked breathing actually starts to terrify him. The environmental tension is literally at an absolute peak right now.
In that dead silence, we get our first direct supernatural encounter. Standing perfectly still, right in the middle of the desolate road, is an old woman. She's wearing a traditional white sari, her posture is severely hunched, and her face is completely obscured in the darkness. She is your classic ghostly archetype, placed perfectly in the center of Rohan's path, basically blocking any chance of escape.
She doesn't move a muscle, but she speaks. In this slow, quiet voice, the old woman asks a truly chilling question. Why did you come back? Understandably, Rohan is completely panicked and totally confused. He stammers out a response, desperately trying to inject some kind of logic into the situation, telling her, I am visiting here for the very first time. He's just trying to establish that there's been some huge mistake, that he absolutely doesn't belong in this dark, silent place.
But instead of accepting his answer, she lets out this slow, deeply unnerving laugh. It's a sound that's hiding this ancient, incredibly deep pain. And she replies, "Everyone who comes here says that." This single line is such a devastating narrative pivot. It tells Rohan that he's not the first person to wander into this trap. The village is caught in a perpetual, agonizing cycle of luring in the lost. And his presence? Well, it's part of a script he didn't even know he was reading.
Literally, right after she says those words, the environment reacts violently. Suddenly, all the lights in the entire village turn on at the exact same time. It's this abrupt, blinding illumination that totally shatters the previous darkness.
But the light, it doesn't bring safety. Not at all. Instead, it reveals a horrifying truth. Rohan is no longer alone in the dark.
He turns around to find people standing at the door of every single home in the village. But they aren't acting like normal people. They are completely motionless. They aren't going about their business. They're all just standing there, staring directly at him. And the most horrifying detail of all, their eyes are pure, empty black.
Okay, so this is where things get really intense. Completely overwhelmed, Rohan breaks into a dead run, sprinting toward the only place he thinks is a sanctuary, the temple where he heard the bells earlier. But the second he gets inside, the doors slam and lock themselves behind him. He's trapped himself. And as he's desperately trying to catch his breath, his eyes fall on an old photograph hanging on the temple wall. He looks closer, and he recognizes the face of the little boy in the picture. It's his own face. It's his own eyes. The horrific truth of exactly why this village feels so familiar is finally starting to dawn on him. Let's look at what's underneath that photograph. There's a caption that completely, utterly shatters his reality. It reads, Bhairav Nagar Fire Tragedy 2003. And right beneath that, the text adds a devastating detail. No survivors. I mean, wow, Rohan's breath just stops. He is looking at a memorial of a disaster from decades ago, a disaster that officially left no one alive, and it features a picture of his own face. He actually stammers aloud, questioning how this could possibly be real.
And the answer comes from the shadows at the back of the locked temple. A voice calls out, delivering the ultimate chilling plot twist of our entire story. Because you died that night too. This completely shatters everything Rohan thought he knew about his own existence. He isn't just a lost traveler who stumbled into a ghost town. No, he is a missing piece of the town's tragic history, being forcefully pulled back to where he belongs.
Slowly, Rohan turns around to face the voice, and standing in the temple with him is a severely burnt figure. Half her body is literally turned to ash, but despite her horrific state, she is smiling at him. It's his mother. She looks at her terrified, confused adult son and happily declares, "We have all been waiting for you. The trap has fully, firmly closed. The supernatural forces of the village have finally reclaimed their lost child."
Immediately, the environment devolves into total chaotic sensory overload. The temple suddenly erupts into phantom flames. The very fire that destroyed the village back in 2003 is manifesting all over again. Outside the locked doors, those silent black-eyed villagers have come alive, and they are all chanting together in unison. Come back, come back, come back. The sheer terror of the burning room and those chanting voices pushes Rohan to the absolute breaking point. He screams, somehow bursting through the heavy doors just to escape the fire.
Now what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast when the illusion finally breaks. The second Rohan bursts out of the burning temple, the supernatural facade is totally gone. That living, breathing, albeit terrifying village he just ran through, it's vanished. Instead, he finds himself standing right in the middle of desolate, charred ruins. There are no houses, no lights, no villagers. It's just endless ash and the rotting foundations of a place that was wiped off the map a very long time ago.
And to cement this incredibly harsh reality, he spots a broken signboard lying on the side of the road amid the ruins. This gives us the final, undeniable confirmation of the tragedy. It reads, Bhairav Nagar, here, 20 years ago, the entire village burned down in a fire. The anomaly has dropped its disguise entirely, leaving only the grim historical truth of a horrific tragedy that happened 2 full decades prior.
From here, the story brilliantly shifts from Rohan's subjective nightmare to a really cold, objective epilogue. It establishes the real-world consequences of that night. The very next morning, the police arrive at the scene on the side of the road, but they don't find Rohan. They only find his motorcycle, heavily burnt, just sitting there amid the ashes. Rohan is completely gone, never to be seen in the living world again. His disappearance permanently cements his fate into the framework of a modern local myth. And that brings us to the chilling conclusion of this local legend, the story that people still tell to this very day. They say that on nights when the rain falls heavily, a young boy can be seen standing on that desolate stretch of road. And whenever a traveler passes by, the boy asks them one chilling, unanswered question. Do you want to go home too? It's such a haunting finale, right? It really lingers long after the story ends, perfectly wrapping up our explainer. We've seen exactly how isolation, memory, and supernatural elements can weave together into a deeply unsettling narrative. Thank you so much for joining me today. And hey, the next time you see a sign for a town you don't recognize, maybe just keep driving.